Just a couple of notes before we will see how we can read from a file. Firstly, instead of using this expression, if in file is not open, that is using the isOpen function, you may see the file function being used instead in some code and tutorials that are out there. However, file is the parent iOS class function, and ifstream defines the isOpen member function, so we will continue using that instead. The open function may also work, for example, if we modify the cstring literal to the name of the file that does not exist, it will fail to open and connect the file. Build and run, and we get file could not be opened. Also, instead of using return here, we can use the exit function. The exit function will terminate the process or program. It will perform some cleanup steps which may not be performed when using other functions such as quick_exit. Following the cleanup steps, it will terminate the program, and then program execution is returned to the host, in this case, your operating system. The exit function accepts an integer for the exit status. So basically the parameter is the status, so we pass in some argument, some integer, to indicate the status. A status, or in other words an argument, of 0 means successful termination of the program, and an argument other than 0, such as 1, means unsuccessful termination of the program, as we are familiar with already from the return 0 in the main function. So in the case where we fail to open and connect our file to the stream, we will call exit and we will pass in 1. Let's build and run, and we get file could not be opened, and then the program terminates. And notice we don't get that end of program string printed. We also get exited with code 1. In the main function we can simply return, but if this logic was in some other function, then we can use the exit function to terminate the program. To demonstrate, I will define some function called openFile. Let's move that file handling code that is currently in the main function out and into the body of the new openFile function. Now we will terminate the program when program execution reaches this function, that is in the case where file opening fails. In the main function we can now call that function openFile. Now remember we have this end of program output. This should not print if we terminate the program in the openFile function. Build and run, and file could not be opened, exited with code 1, and we also do not get the end of program string. Let's change the cstring literal back to the name of the file that does exist, text.txt, and let's build and run again. This time we get file opened successfully, and of course we also get our end of program string now. I would like to note that you should include the C standard library header for the exit function, that is cstdlib. We are not currently including that, but let's comment out some of the includes here, such as iostream. Then also comment out the statements requiring iostream. Build that and we get a succeed. However, if we comment out this fstream include now, build one more time, notice that the exit identifier is not found. To fix that, we can include cstdlib, so the C standard library. Build again, and now exit exists in that scope. Of course, the other identifiers will not be found since they live in fstream, which we have commented out. I will uncomment those includes. Add a comment on why we want to include this, that is for the exit function. With the exit function, in some code you may see some macros passed in. Exit success for a successful termination, and then we also have exit failure for an unsuccessful termination. Instead of returning 0 here, we could use the exit function, passing in exit success. This is more readable, so I prefer using these macros instead of exit with some integer argument. I will uncomment these lines. Remember I mentioned we don't really want to use the file function, we want to use isOpen. If I build a run now, we actually get file could not be opened. We have to remember the not here, so we check if the file is not open. That operator is overloaded, so we could actually just have that and then the object. In this case, let's do not in_file, and that should work. If we build a run, the file opens successfully. And if you want, you can test this with some file name that does not exist yet. Remember that we can use cin or console input and the stream extraction operator to get input from the keyboard. In this example, we have a variable to store the name of a player and that player's score in an integer. We enter values from the keyboard and those will be extracted from the input stream, in this case cin, and stored in the variables. Then we print those variables out again to the console output stream cout. So we may want to do something similar using file streams. We may want a file that stores the name of some player followed by the score of that player, and then in the future we can extend this to a file that contains the top 10 scores, for example. Let's say we are writing some game, then of course this is useful if you want to save the top 10 score list, for example, or some save state. We would otherwise lose the data when we close the program. We will learn more about how we can write to files in upcoming lectures. For now, instead of reading from cin, we want to read from or extract from our infile stream object. This example is similar to what we have done before. We declare an if stream infile. We open some file, in this case text.txt, and then we do a check to see if that is open. Before we read from a file, we want to add something to it. So with our text file open, let's add a name for some player, Bob for example, and some score, 5500. Save those changes, and navigate back to the file that contains our main function. I want to use the standard string to store the name of the player, so I will include the string file. Again, we have the ifstream object. If it is not open, then terminate the program. Otherwise, we want to extract characters from that file. I will leave this line for now, I will modify that later. Above this, I will read from the file, so we want to extract from the stream. Again, instead of using the standard cin stream, we want to use our infile stream, and we can use the stream extraction operator with that. Next, we want some variables to store the data that we extract from that file. The first data item will be a string, so let's use the standard string type and create a player name variable. The next data item will be an integer, player score. Then from our infile stream, extract the player name and then the player score like so, using the stream extraction operator. In this case, we should read Bob and then 5500 from that file and store those values in the variables that we have just declared. Then you may want to use that data for something. In this example, we will simply print those out again to the console output stream, cout. Build and run that. And we get this sort of result now. So to recap, we read the player name and score from the file on disk, and then we can use that for something. In this example, we simply print those out to the console again, using the cout stream and the stream insertion operator.